Hi everyone, my name is Julia Bennett. I'm 35 years old. At Thanksgiving dinner with my aunts, cousins, and grandmother at the table, my sister leaned toward my husband, smiled, and said, "You should have married me, not her." And when my mother laughed and my father looked at me and said, "Don't start. She's clearly the prettier one," something in me finally broke in front of everyone. It happened between the sweet potatoes and the pie. One second, my husband Ethan was passing the rolls. The next, my younger sister Claire tilted her head at him like she was posing for a picture, touched his wrist, and said those 7 words in a voice that was just loud enough for everyone at the table to hear. "You should have married me, not her." There was a beat of silence. Then my mother laughed. Not nervous laughter. Not shocked laughter. The kind that says, "Isn't she outrageous?" My Aunt Janine made a face like maybe she wasn't sure whether it was funny. My cousin Mia stared at her plate. My grandmother froze with her fork halfway to her mouth. I looked at Claire because I honestly thought, for one stupid second, that she was going to say she was kidding. She didn't. She just smiled at Ethan. Slow, confident. Like she knew the whole room had already been trained to let her get away with anything. Ethan pushed his chair back an inch. Not violently. Just enough to create distance. And that's when my father looked straight at me and said, "Don't start. She's clearly the prettier one." I wish I could say I answered him immediately. I wish I could say I stood up with some perfect line and left them all speechless. But the truth is, I just sat there for one awful second, feeling everyone at that table hear what he said and then wait to see whether I would make a scene. Because that was the family system. Claire could say anything. My mother would call it humor. My father would call it honesty. And if I reacted, somehow I became the problem. I had lived inside that system my entire life. Claire, 3 years younger, blonde and delicate and always described as the beautiful one, could ruin a birthday party, flirt with someone else's boyfriend, show up late, cry at the right time, and somehow still leave as the injured party. When we were teenagers, boys would come over for me and end up talking to her. At family events, relatives told her she should model and told me I was so smart, the way people speak about a child who has already lost some invisible contest. Once, when I was 16, a boy named Adam came to pick me up for a winter dance. Claire walked through the living room in my blue sweater and Dad laughed and said, "Wrong sister, son." Everyone treated it like a joke. Adam kissed Claire at a New Year's party 6 months later. My mother told me not to hold grudges. That was the shape of my family. Claire reached. Everyone excused. I swallowed. Until Thanksgiving. Ethan finally spoke. His voice was flat in a way I had only heard a few times in our marriage. "That's an inappropriate thing to say." Claire shrugged. "Oh, relax. It's Thanksgiving. I'm joking." Mom gave Ethan a bright smile. "She flirts with everyone. Don't be so serious." Then she turned to me, as if I were the unstable variable in the room, and added, "Julia, don't get all sensitive." Sensitive. There it was. I'm the word they used whenever I wanted basic respect. I looked at my husband. His jaw was tight. One of his hands was still on the table, fingers curled around his napkin like he was deciding whether to stay calm for my sake or say what he actually felt. He met my eyes and quietly said, "We're leaving." Claire laughed again. "Wow. Really? Over that?" My father leaned back in his chair. "For God's sake, Julia, your sister was kidding." "No," Ethan said, standing now. "She wasn't." The room went quiet in a different way then. Not with shame, with annoyance. Because he had broken the rule too. He had not played along. My mother put her hand to her chest. "Can we not ruin Thanksgiving over a joke?" I stood up so quickly my chair scraped the hardwood. Claire rolled her eyes and muttered, There she goes. I looked directly at her. Say it again. She smiled like she couldn't believe I was making her repeat herself in public. Oh my God, Julia. Say it again. She didn't. Of course she didn't. Because people like Claire depend on the room helping them pretend they never meant what they said. My father stood too. Don't you dare speak to your sister like that in this house. I laughed once. I couldn't help it. Not because it was funny, because suddenly the whole pattern was so obvious I felt stupid for having survived it this long. Your house, I said. Your joke. Your prettier daughter. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Then I turned to my grandmother and said, I'm sorry. She looked like she wanted to speak and didn't know how. Ethan took my coat off the hook by the door, put his hand at my back, and we walked out while my mother was still calling after us. You always do this, Julia. You always make everything into something. It was 34 degrees outside. My hands were shaking so badly Ethan had to unlock the car for me. We drove in silence for 2 blocks before I started crying. Not loud, cinematic crying. Just the kind that comes when someone says the thing you always knew was true and does it in front of a room full of witnesses. Ethan kept one hand on the wheel and the other open between us on the console. I'm sorry, he said. I wiped at my face. Why are you apologizing? Because I should have shut it down harder. I looked at him then. You did. No, he said quietly. I should have said what I've been thinking for a while. That made me turn fully toward him. He kept his eyes on the road. Claire has been crossing lines with me for months. He had been trying not to tell me. That was the first thing Ethan said once we pulled into the pharmacy parking lot near our apartment, and he finally turned the engine off. I didn't want to hurt you, he said, and I didn't want to give her more importance than she deserved. I stared at him. What does crossing lines mean? He unlocked his phone, opened a message thread, and handed it to me. Claire. There were not hundreds of messages. That almost would have been easier. A flood can feel ridiculous. This was worse. Sparse. Precise. Calculated. A late-night reply to one of his stories from 3 months earlier. You clean up nice when Julia isn't dressing you. A photo reaction from August. If you ever get tired of being the responsible one, I'm more fun. A message after my cousin's engagement party. You really chose the serious sister. Wild. I looked at the screen so long my own reflection started to show in it. When was the first one? I asked. Summer. And you didn't tell me. I told her to stop. That made me look up. He nodded once. Twice. Once over text. Once at your parents' anniversary barbecue when she cornered me by the cooler and said she was the Bennett your father actually wanted men to notice. I shut my eyes. Of course she said that. Because that was the language my family had built around us for years. Claire the one men noticed. Julia the one who should be grateful anyone chose her at all. Why didn't you tell me? I asked again, quieter this time. He was silent for a second. Because I knew exactly how it would go. And I did too. My mother would say Claire was insecure. My father would say Ethan misunderstood. Claire would cry. And somehow I would end the night apologizing for making her feel judged. That was when my phone started going off. Mom, Dad, Mom again, Claire. Then the family group chat. I opened it. Mom, this is ridiculous. Come back and finish dinner. Dad, you embarrassed us in front of Grandma. Claire, Ethan is making this weird on purpose. Aunt Janine, can everyone cool down? Mom, Julia, answer me. Claire, I said one thing. She's acting insane. Insane. There it was. The escalation step. If sensitive stopped working, move to unstable. Ethan reached over. Don't answer while you're upset. But I wasn't upset anymore. Not in the loose, crying way. I was focused. I screenshotted the thread with Claire's messages. Everyone. Then I sent exactly one reply to the family chat. Claire has been flirting with Ethan for months. If anyone wants to pretend tonight was a joke, ask her why she texted my husband that he chose the serious sister. 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Claire typing. Stopped. Started again. Then my father answered instead. You are not doing this in a group chat. Which meant I was right. My mother called before I could type anything else. I answered on speaker. Her voice was sharp from the first breath. What is wrong with you? That question used to destroy me. That night, it just sounded tired. What's wrong with me? Yes, you. You took one stupid comment and blew up the whole holiday. One comment? Claire was joking. Then why has she been messaging my husband since summer? Silence. Not surprise. Calculation. Then my mother did what she always did when cornered by facts. She changed the subject from behavior to tone. Julia, if Ethan encouraged this even a little. He laughed out loud from the driver's seat. Just once. Cold. I said, you don't get to do that. Do what? Take your daughter hitting on my husband and turn it into a conversation about what he did. My father's voice came on in the background. Hang up if she's going to talk like that. I could hear dishes, chairs, my family moving through the remains of Thanksgiving like I was the stain to clean up. Then Claire got on the line. Crying. Real tears or fake ones, I didn't care anymore. I cannot believe you just told everyone that, she said. Do you know how humiliating that is? I actually smiled. Humiliating. She said you should have married me, not her, at a full Thanksgiving table in front of our grandmother, and was now crying about humiliation. I said, very evenly, you touched my husband and told him he married the wrong sister. It was a joke. You repeated it for months in private. That's not what those messages mean. What do they mean? She went quiet. Behind her, my father said, this is enough. And something in me finally clicked into place. Not rage, decision. I'm done, I said. Mom made a small disbelieving sound. Done with what? With this family, making me compete in a contest I never entered. Julia, don't be dramatic. No. Listen carefully, because I'm only saying it once. My voice was so calm, even I noticed it. I am not coming back tonight. I am not coming for Christmas. And I'm not spending one more holiday in a room where Claire flirts with my husband, and both of you treat it like a compliment to her. My mother started crying then, angry crying. My father said, if you walk away over this, don't expect us to chase you. I said, that has always been the deal, Dad. And then I hung up. For the first time in my life, the silence after a family call did not feel lonely. It felt clean. When we got home, I blocked Claire first, then my father, then my mother. Then I sat on the edge of my bed still wearing my boots while Ethan stood in the doorway watching me with that careful expression people get when they know something irreversible has just happened. I looked up at him and said, I think I should have done that years ago. He nodded. Then he said, you probably should have. The first holiday message came 6 days later. Not from my mother. Not from my father. From Aunt Janine. I think you should know what happened after you left. According to her, the room stayed quiet for a few seconds after Ethan and I walked out. Then my father said, Julia has always been jealous of Claire. My mother agreed. Claire cried. And then my grandmother, who almost never contradicted my father in public, set down her fork and said, no. Julia has always been expected to tolerate things none of you would survive for 5 minutes. I read that line 3 times. That should have made me sad. Instead, it made me feel less alone. My mother tried next. Email, because I had blocked her number. Subject line, can we move forward? The email was exactly what I should have expected. She said Thanksgiving had been messy on all sides. She said Claire had been reckless with her sense of humor. She said my father had used unfortunate wording. She said Ethan may have intensified things. Not once did she use the words flirt, humiliate, or wrong. I wrote back with one sentence. I am not interested in moving forward with people who still describe what happened as mutual. My father answered 14 minutes later. If you're choosing your husband over your family, that's on you. I looked across the couch at Ethan, glasses low on his nose, reading like it was a normal evening in a normal home, and I felt something settle inside me for good. This was never about choosing him over them. This was about finally refusing to choose humiliation over peace. On Christmas Eve, my grandmother came to our apartment. She brought a pie in a metal tin and walked in like she had every right to be there. We sat at my small table with coffee, and for 20 minutes we talked about ordinary things. Weather, her knees, Ethan's work, my office. It almost made me cry, because normal had always been the first thing my family stole whenever Claire wanted attention. Then Grandma put down her fork and looked at me. Your father was wrong. Just that. No speech. No performance. Then she looked at Ethan. And your sister meant every word. Ethan nodded. I know. Grandma reached into her purse and handed me a folded set of printed screenshots. Claire's messages. The same ones Ethan had shown me in the car. I stared at them. How did you get these? I asked for them, she said. Claire's boyfriend saw them first. His name was Luke. And he had been with Claire for 2 years, quiet and patient and easy for her to talk over. Apparently, after Thanksgiving, he had asked my mother if the messages were real. She tried to say they were taken out of context. My father called him oversensitive. Luke left before dessert, and the next morning he returned Claire's house key. For the first time since Thanksgiving, I laughed. A real laugh. Not because I was happy he got pulled into her mess, but because Claire had finally run out of rooms where charm worked faster than proof. Grandma spent Christmas Eve with us, not with them. That mattered more than I can explain. When she left, she kissed my cheek and said, "You should have done this years ago. Your piece got expensive in that family." She was right. By February, Claire and Luke were over for good. By March, my mother had written me 3 apology emails, each slightly less cowardly than the last. My father wrote none. He sent one birthday text that said, "Love you always." I did not answer. Love without respect had already cost me enough. And me? I stopped going to rooms where I was expected to lose quietly. I stopped translating cruelty into humor so other people could stay comfortable. I stopped confusing access with love. People ask whether cutting off your family feels dramatic. The truth is, drama was Thanksgiving. Drama was my sister touching my husband's wrist and telling him he married the wrong woman, while my parents sat there smiling. No contact was not drama. It was the first peaceful thing I had ever done. Hi guys. Thank you for being here. If that had happened to you, would you have walked out that same night? Or would you have stayed and exposed everyone at the table first? And once your family showed you exactly where you ranked in their eyes, would you ever let them back in? Tell me in the comments. And if this story stayed with you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to see you in the next one.